Kate Pierson, it is so lovely to see you and your sunny smile.
Thank you. It's speaking of sunny, it's winter here in Woodstock, New York, and the sun has not come out for 3 weeks, and it did like poke a little bit through the clouds today, and I ran outside to like, oh, sun, but it just went back in the clouds. But
Oh,
winter is
no.
beautiful. It's this beautiful snow on frost on everything, and it's very beautiful. So can't complain, but I wish the sun would come out.
Well, speaking of sunshine, Kate, I have to say this. The world has been blessed with over 40 years of the B-52's fabulousness. I mean, so many great songs, so many brilliant vibes. You must sit back and think, wow.
Well, I do think about how many years we've been together and how lucky we are that we still really like each other. And we have a band thread going on. It includes our manager and our tour manager and our whole larger touring band. And especially Fred sends a joke every day and some kind of cartoon thing. And we do politics. And so, it's just, I feel really lucky to have this kind of family that creates together and has created some really great songs, I have to say, and songs that give people joy and make people happy. So I feel really, really lucky to be where in the B-52's.
The music is happy and it has made millions of people happy. Was that the intention when you set out? Was it to make happy, fabulous, uplifting music?
Well, the intention was to be a dance band, and we have called ourselves self-proclaimed tacky little dance band from Athens, Georgia, or the world's greatest party band. We're claiming that for ourselves. And our intention, we'd love to dance. And when we started in Athens, Georgia, we loved to dance, and we'd go over someone's house. I mean, it didn't matter what time of day or night. If somebody played music, we would be dancing. So, and there were parties that were just house parties, and we'd go and crash those parties. Or there was one little club, and I think the cover was $1, but we couldn't afford it, so we'd crash that place and dance crazy. We wouldn't do the normal kind of dancing. We just sort of, the dance floor would clear when we all started dancing. But so we wanted to do dance music, and we have some more songs that are a little maybe pulling at your heartstrings, like "Give Me Back My Man," but it's all very danceable.
You and Cindy have such a music magic. Was that evident from the first time you shared a microphone?
The very first jam we did, we had a flaming volcano drink. We went to jam at our friend's house, and right away, sort of the template of the way we write was set, because we jammed, and Keith and Ricky were playing instruments, and Fred and Cindy and I were just wailing, lyrics and melodies, and we wrote a song called Killer Bees. And we kept thinking, Fred was insistent that those killer bees are coming from South America, but they're not here yet, but still not here. But it was evident that we had this harmonic thing. Cindy and I had just spontaneous harmonies. We've never had to work out our harmonies and like, you do this the fourth interval or anything. It's just like sometimes the harmonies will go like this. She'll sing the top and I'll sing the bottom part, and then we'll cross over, and whatever we did in the jam, that's how we sort of recreate the song. And we
Yeah.
write sort of in a collage kind of way by jamming and then putting the pieces together like a puzzle. But yes, there was magic right from the beginning.
And it seems to happen effortlessly.
No one said, hey, let's start a band. You play keyboard, I play guitar, you can sing. It just sort of, we jammed and it just came together. And then we realized, wow, we have something. And then Fred told his friend, Julia, that we had a band. And she said, well, play at our Valentine's Day party. So our anniversary is coming up soon, yet another anniversary. It's over 40. So, who's
Wow.
counting? But, we played that party, and then we just kept jamming. But the spontaneity comes with the jamming, and the real work comes with the putting the pieces together. That's really hard when you're working with 5 people. And then after Ricky died, we did Cosmic Thing, Keith did all the instrumentation, and Fred and Cindy and I did the melodic parts and the lyrics and harmonies. So it was hard because we all work as a group, with the exception of a few songs. We worked as a group and put all the pieces together of the song. And then a touring is amazing, to go out in front of an audience and get all that love and get all that kind of dance magic with the audience happening. But that's, the hard part. It's 90 or 80% schlepping around, carrying stuff and traveling. And then the magic, is 20%, I guess, when you're on stage. And the writing process is just so fulfilling when you have a song. It's like a sort of a birth, it's wow.
And the fact, Kate, that you all enjoy one another's company too. That obviously is crucial.
Yeah.
Is this true? You all started the band to kind of amuse yourself because you all had disparate jobs that I suppose wasn't letting your true inner creativity fly. Like you, I think I read somewhere, were a paste-up artist at the local newspaper, and you thought, nah, want to really do something else.
Well, I was a journalism major. I studied journalism, and then I decided that's not what I wanted to do. So I did a back to the land thing, and that's how I landed in Athens, and had goats, and I made goat cheese, and I was really into vegetables, raising a garden. But I always knew I wanted to be a singer. That was always something I wanted to do, and it just worked out because I met the rest of the band. And I think the same thing, everyone had done music. I had a little group in high school called the Sun Donuts. So I always wanted to do music, but it just sort of came in a circuitous way by the hand of fate, I think.
Is there somebody when you were a young girl growing up that you would hear come on the radio or you'd see on television as a singer, as a performer, that really inspired you, that kind of lit that fuse, that kind of inner singer needing to get out?
Of course, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Janis Joplin, Joni Mitchell, Aretha Franklin, the Ronettes, all those girl groups. I think you really hear that influence of the girl groups in our, surf music, crazy B movies, science fiction,
Yes.
outer space. All those things have influenced everyone in the band, and we all come from similar backgrounds. So when I guess we have also a similar kind of points of reference, as far as someone once said in a review, and it was a British writer, of course, it said, they're not going to bring their American trash aesthetic here. But yes, we did.
And might I say, very successfully. I read somewhere that Keith Strickland had this strange dream where he heard the name the B-52's. Is that right?
He sort of was a little bit of a waking, dream, fantasy dream, where he saw, and he always had this idea of this women with big beehives, and they were all playing organs, and they would be called the organizers. But he heard a voice. He thought, he thought of this group, and then someone whispered, "That's the B-52's," in his head. So he suggested that name, and we thought, wow, that's that has a buzz to it. So we went with that. Then one of our first tours, we went to Japan, and we thought, oh my God, we have to change the name. We can't, be representing. And the whole thing was sort of, the B-52 was a slang for a bouffant hairdo.
Yes.
And Athens at the time, there were still people wearing those bouffants, well, women wearing the bouffants, and maybe some men too. Well, definitely some men. So, we wanted to sort of transform that kind of notion of a war plane to a bouffant hairdo, and sort of take that sort of violence out of that sort of, that image. So, and that's how the name came about. But we thought of all these different names when we were going to Japan. We're going to change our name, and it just, nothing worked. So we went with the B-52's. And when we played there, they really got the idea, because they they made posters with wigs dropping from the sky. And
where did the idea for the wigs come from? I mean, it's almost like an homage to Dusty Springfield, these fabulous, great, big, over-the-top, wonderful bouffants. Who came up with the idea of wearing wigs and really exaggerating the whole wiggy thing?
well, just like the way it was spontaneous, the way we started writing, our look was spontaneous too, because people often asked, who does your look? And it's something that we started by going to parties, and we would just go to the thrift store. It was called the Potter's House in Athens, and there was a box of wigs. I remember one time struggling with Fred, like, or, grabbing with this wig, and we were, I want the wig. No. And Fred used to wear this Bubba wig. It was like a crazy looking hippie wig. Keith wore a little red wig sometimes, and Ricky usually wore a hat. But I had really long hair, really, really long hair. So we met Laverne, an Athens hairdresser, and she did my hair up in a big bouffant. And she said, honey, you can make love in that hairdo and it's not going to move. But it sort of came along with the just kind of, we were very influenced by Diana Vreeland, 60s Vogue, the exaggerated hairdos and kind of exaggerated femininity, but that was also kind of severe. And of course, Fellini was a huge influence. We loved Fellini movies, and that was an influence on the look, but it was just fun. And wearing a wig can really make you, take you out of yourself. So you're not nervous when you're wearing a wig, because, you're not really you're just transformed somehow. A wig, try it.
Creates a whole different character, a whole different persona, and gives you a completely different energy. Do you name your wigs? Do you have pet names for them?
Yes. At one point, we had a huge wig case, and I had a beaver tail, I had Stairway to Heaven. Cindy had a birdcage wig, literally made out of chicken wire and hair like woven into the chicken wire. It was just an amazing wig. So we had this case, and there were just wigs lined up in a case. It was something.
The B-52's, when you think about it, are like this luscious compote of so many times and places and looks and people, isn't it? It's a wonderful smorgasbord of all of these different elements that have come together in such a harmony.
I think our like science fiction songs or scientific songs and sort of futuristic songs very influenced by, and we all kind of share this love of these B movies and science fiction movies and Star Trek. And I think that influenced us a lot. And, it is a sort of smorgasbord of all these different elements coming in, surf music and girl group sound. And it's all in there.
Oh, it certainly is. Now, Rock Lobster, of course, was your first hit, 1978. It was written by Fred and Ricky, and it became a monster hit all over the world. The shrieks, the screams, and that is you and Cindy doing those shrieks and screams. I've got it in my head now. It is such an earworm, Kate. It's because it's so unique. We'd never heard anything like it before.
We hadn't either. And when we wrote it, I mean, when, Fred had this experience of going to a disco and seeing these crustaceans being kind of, they were all on the walls of the disco. And he thought one of them was a lobster, and he thought Rock Lobster. And so he wrote this poem. And then Ricky, I mean, the guitar riff in Rock Lobster is what really drives it. And there's he wrote this, the way he plays it on the Mosrite guitar, it's missing some strings. So he has two sets of strings in some ways. So he's playing two parts kind of on a guitar. It's just really driving. It's just the most amazing guitar riff. But he did think he said to Keith one time, I just wrote this really stupid guitar riff, and it was the Rock Lobster. Dun, 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 dun. So that really became this signature of that song. And it's just so driving that even today when we perform that song, I can't, it makes me want to dance. I just can't stop dancing because it just sort of propels along. And then the list at the end, when Cindy and I still do a very spontaneous, we don't think it out. We do different fish sounds, and it's all very spontaneous. So it's fun to do that.
And I mean, talk about a quantum leap from Rock Lobster to John Lennon's Double Fantasy album. I mean, this is just the most incredible story, because John Lennon heard Rock Lobster. He loved those screeches and the bird calls and the whole incredible energy, loved the vibe, called up Yoko. They'd taken this 5-year break from recording or some such, and that inspired them to write and record Double Fantasy. I mean, what an incredible story.
I still can't believe it. It is like a fantasy to me. I just can't believe my heroes, John and Yoko, because we were influenced by Yoko, and it was the thing at Rock Lobster that really grabbed John, and he said, our time has come. They're getting Yoko, they're getting us. And that was just so amazing, because we were all so influenced by the Beatles. I was a huge Beatles fan growing up, and yeah, that's an amazing thing.
So, Kate, what was it like then in 1992 when you had the chance to interview your idol? We're talking about Yoko Ono, and I think she opened up to you like she's never opened up to anyone before.
Well, I was nervous, but once I got into the interview, I asked her some questions that, I just felt like I had to ask her, like, are you a witch? She said, yes. But, there's always the break up the Beatles thing, which she did not. And I just think she's an amazing artist, and we all respect her musicianship and her artistry. And Joan Osborne and I just did this workshop during this, it was like a camp, a music camp. And we did a workshop on Yoko and her influence and her feminist point of view, and that how it influenced John. And I just find that their relationship, very moving. And we've always been a fan of Yoko's. If you look at her Facebook page, she's always got just an amazing, every saying she has is just like, wow, it's amazing.
How did you find Yoko up close and personal? Was she a lovely, warm, giving woman? Did you feel this tremendous tsunami of intelligence and wisdom there?
I feel she's very candid and funny and warm. Yeah, I was just felt very relaxed. I mean, even though I was very nervous at first, yeah, I felt relaxed. And Fred and I went to her, I think it was the 70th birthday party, and she invited us up on stage, and Sean threw the party, and she was singing, and she said, "Fred and Kate, come on up." And I guess we really wailed, we did that. And we sat, we were jamming kind of. It was kind of a jam session. And at the end, she said, "Oh, you guys really go for it." So she made us feel relaxed. And she joined us on our 25th anniversary concert and sang, did that thing at the end of Rock Lobster, did her thing. And that was amazing. That was amazing.
Speaking of amazing, how much fun did you have making the Flintstones movie? I love this. You were the B-52's with, of course, it was John Goodman and Elizabeth Perkins as Fred and Wilma Flintstone, as I remember it, Rick Moranis and Rosie O'Donnell as Barney and Betty, and Elizabeth Taylor was in the mix as well.
Well, we didn't get to meet Elizabeth Taylor, who's another idol of mine, but going on the set, and it was in California, in this kind of quarry, and the set was so amazing. It was really a lot more than you see in the movie, because there were a lot of details. And Fred and I got to ride in one of those little cars. It was like really, really fun. And we had a blast doing that, and singing the theme song and the twitch as well, and the costumes. It was just really a blast. And I had shared the dressing room with Rosie O'Donnell when they were doing the makeup room. And she was really funny and really great. Yeah, that was amazing.
You've gotten to collaborate with some greats, Kate, over the years. Debbie Harry, I mean, she must be a personal hero. I just kind of feel she is.
I know Debbie. I mean, we toured with them, and she is just the coolest chick. I have to say, she is the coolest. She's always like, yeah, and she gets compliments, and she's just like, I don't know. She just has not ego driven, and she's just sweet, and she's cool. There's just that's her, and I love Blondie. I think their songs really hold up, and her voice is just so iconic. And yeah, I feel like we've gotten to work with so many iconic people, just bands that we toured with, the Pretenders. Oh my
Yes.
God. And
Wow.
Marley and Blondie and Talking Heads and Tom Tom Club. And I mean, the list goes on, but
The
the
Ramones, of
Yoko.
course.
Oh, the Ramones. I used to, when we first started and we played at CBGB's and Max's Kansas City, I got to see, another huge hero of mine is Patti Smith. So we got to
Oh,
see
wow.
Patti
Yes.
Smith and the Ramones, and just, we would come up to New York from Athens. We'd go down there and try to write some more, we'd write a few more songs and then come up. We blazed a trail from Athens to New York, and we'd come up and play one of those clubs, and eventually we'd play Hurrahs, and we opened the Mud Club. And uh but we got to see a lot of other bands, and it was not competitive. Like, the bands would say, hey, go check out this band and check out, Talking Heads were very, and Blondie were just so nice to us, and Chris and Tina and Debbie and Chris Stein had us over their apartment. So it was a very, like, a camaraderie. I think a lot of the bands kind of were supporting each other during that time.
So many great songs too, Kate. Also danceable. In fact, just before we came onto the radio here in Australia, blasted Rome. I don't know, it's so uplifting and interesting, and has such a good vibe to it. How did Rome come about?
Our really good friend, Robert Waldrop, friend of the band, he wrote lyrics for quite a few songs: Dirty Back Road, Hero Worship, Legal Tender, Rome. Um, so he had given me these lyrics, and he has beautiful handwriting. So he had this big sheet of paper and he wrote the lyrics out, handwritten. And Keith had this music, and Cindy, I guess we were just trying to write a girl song. And I just pulled the lyrics out and said, let's try this. And it just, I mean, he had written most of our songs when we jam. It's like free form. There's no set, it's a jam. So we had to put the parts together. So here's the chorus. Here's, it's hard to say this is, it's not written out like we do the lyrics at the same time. But this was like, okay, it's got a chorus and a verse. So it came together pretty easily, and the harmonies just came together magically, just kind of spontaneously. So it was actually kind of an easy song to write.
It's such an easy song to listen to. Private Idaho is another favorite of so many around the world.
That's a weird song.
Mm-hmm.
It has a line in it, like the head of a stranger. And we had overheard someone in Athens, someone just walking down the street, and who was a little bit like deranged, and they were yelling something like, he's had the head of a stranger. So we had to incorporate that into the song. But it's a kind of a mysterious song, and we have a lot of songs that have sort of an ominous quality like that. And um, some disaster songs that have always a sexual metaphor in the disaster songs, like Lava. So
But then you got a song like Love Shack, which just really screams from the rafters what it's
yeah.
about, and such an energy too.
And we didn't like, well, Fred suggested that title. He's really good with the titles, and it just sort of unfolded, as it just, again, was a jam. So we didn't think about what it was going to be about specifically, like, hey, let's write a song, that's about this. It just had the title, and then we just let it fly. So it just came together, and it just, the groove is just undeniable in that song. It's just like, keeps you, another one that keeps you dancing.
1985 and the B-52's. And really, Kate, the world was rocked when Ricky Wilson died, founding member, of course, Cindy's brother. And I read that it was Keith Strickland who was the only one who knew that Ricky was actually living with AIDS, because he didn't want the fuss. He didn't want to upset things. Is that how the story played out?
Yes, I mean, Ricky was very private and actually very shy. And and also, AIDS was a new kind of thing. People didn't understand it, and there was also such a stigma attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that was the reason. I don't think anyone really understood the extent of his disease and how long he would live. I mean, nobody knew. It was just really, really terrifying. And so, Ricky just really declined fast, and I mean, it was just devastating. It was just, we had just been jamming, we had just been working together, and then the next day, one day we went to jam, and he didn't show up, and that was very unusual because he was always punctual. And the next day, Keith called me, and said he was in the hospital. So it was just so sudden and so devastating, and we didn't think we could continue after that. But I mean, we realized after about a year that music, I mean, what we had together, we had to keep that together, and in so many ways, it brought Ricky's spirit back. I
Yes.
felt like he was in the room with us, really. Yeah, I feel like it was a healing. It was for us to heal. That's how we wrote Cosmic Thing. And we didn't really care about writing a hit. It was just like we said, we're doing this for us and for Ricky.
He was only 32, Kate, when he left us. And it was around the same time, of course, that Rock Hudson passed away. Same
Yeah,
situation. And I think that's really what fired Elizabeth Taylor up, isn't it? To
yeah.
get behind demystifying AIDS, getting rid of the crap and the BS around it, and just telling the truth and raising money and trying to find a cure. That's really where she came into her own as probably one of the most fabulous people on earth.
She's like an angel. I mean, that was, she really, really stepped up. And I mean, it was so devastating to lose Ricky and then so many friends after that. It was a really dark time, but it was also a time when people were dancing and, just kind of getting out of their grief, I guess, by, partying. And so it was just a really conflicted time, but we lost a lot of friends and
Mm.
so many in our, especially LGBTQI, the whole community was devastated.
Of
Just
course. It was like a spectre, wasn't it? To add to the sadness of people going, it was like, who's going to be next? And why is this monster so out of control? You personally, Kate, how did you overcome your personal grief of Ricky's passing? I mean, how do you figure that in your mind?
it's just really hard to, I mean, we went through a period of just not, we still saw each other. And Keith, right after Ricky died, moved up here to Woodstock, and I went with him. And I wound up buying a little house. I didn't really intend to, but I wanted to get out. We all were living in New York City at that point. So Keith had to leave New York City, and so a friend, Laura Levine, she's a rock photographer. She invited us to Woodstock. So Keith started looking for a house, and I found a house, and so we lived across the pond from each other. So being in nature was what really healed me. I think,
Mhm.
really, I just kind of really got into being up here, and was on this little lake, and I canoed, and I would canoe across to Keith's house. And he started writing again. He was like, listen to this music I wrote. And I said, I think we can, and then he played it for the rest, for Cindy and Fred. And we all thought, let's just try it. Let's try to come together, and this will be really healing. And that's really how we got through it. It was writing Cosmic Thing. That's what really kind of pulled us out of that kind of depression, or, the mire of losing so many people.
Mm.
Music heals. It really does. And I think the music that came out of that is healing to other people, which is something I never expected. That music, that's not your intention when you write music, that you write it for yourself. You want it to go out there and other people to hear it, but to have that unexpected kind of effect, that people come and say, this helped me get through a crisis, it helped me get through high school, it helped me overcome bullying. I just like, helped me bond with other like-minded people and realize there were other people out there like me. um, that's just a most wonderful thing to hear, and I never get tired of hearing that from people. Like, oh, we've heard this, but it's never, tiring to hear that. It's just wonderful.
Ricky seemed to have such an amazing energy, Kate. Do you ever feel him around you?
Still, especially for Cindy, there were times when she felt like she looked to the side of the stage and there he was. Um, and Keith had a lot of dreams, and I had a lot of. I still have dreams sometimes. Ricky's in the dream. Yeah, I mean, his presence is still felt, and we play those songs that Ricky was such a part of
Mm.
that you can't help but feel his presence still. I mean, he's just still there with us.
Well, Kate, you and Australian singer and singing sensation and songwriter extraordinaire, you and Sia are great friends. How did that come about that you two met?
Well, our friends, Betty, there's a band called Betty. They've been around almost as long as we have, and they're just amazing. And they introduced us. They had a birthday party. One of them, every time they have a party, any member of Betty, you're required to perform or read something. Always have to do something. And this party, we all had to sing individually. So everyone had to jump up and sing a song. And Sia sang something, and I'm like, wow. I mean, this just her voice so amazing. And we talked, and my wife Monica we really bonded with her at that party. So we just became friends. And she's got such an infectious laugh,
Mhm.
and she's so funny. And we just really liked her. And so she visited us here in Woodstock, and we went to out and visited her and spent time with her. And then Monica asked if she would help me, because I was always wanted to write a solo record. I always intended to, but the B-52's, was very all encompassing. We did a lot of touring. We really worked hard and toured a lot. And she knew I really wanted this. And so she asked see if she would, give me a little boost. And so we just started going on these writing sessions, and it was really fun. She's an amazing writer. The collaboration was really fun. And what a lyricist too. I mean, her sense of melody, but her lyric, her lyric writing is just pretty amazing. I don't think you always see the depth of her lyrics in pop songs, because you can't, pop songs. She has amazing lyrics in her pop songs, like Chandelier.
Oh,
I mean,
fabulous.
amazing. But her earlier stuff too has like just amazing lyrics.
And
She's
she's written for so many incredible people. And
oh,
now you add you to the list there with Every Day is Halloween, which is a fabulous song. How did that come about? Were you two talking about Halloween? What was the conceptualizing of that?
when she works with another performer, I think a singer, she writes with a co-writer. She always asks them like, "What you're feeling?" I had already written lyrics. I mean, it turned around. A lot of lyrics got changed, but I had that basic idea. Every day is Halloween, and I had some lyrics. So that's where it sort of started. And we worked with Nick Valenci on that. And that's really the first song we did together. We went to Nick Valenci, and he started playing, and then it just sort of came together.
And maybe a lot of people wouldn't know this, but C was also your wedding singer when you and your wife Monica married in Hawaii in 2015. There was the fabulous Sia doing the honors.
And she sang this song she wrote for my album, "Crush Me with Your Love."
Oh, wow.
Beautiful, beautiful song. We had a really Hawaiian wedding. It was great. It was fantastic.
Now, here's another incredible opportunity that came your way. 2004, Cher, her farewell tour, and you guys opened for Cher. What was that experience like?
We didn't do a whole tour. We just did a few shows. And after we played, I would watch her. Like maybe it was 4 or 5 shows. So I'd watch the show every night. And you gotta love Cher. I mean, she's just amazing. All the costume changes and the singing. She's just a really down to earth person too, I think. She's despite all that she's done, and she's an amazing actor. So in the beginning, it had a video screen, and it kind of reviewed all her had a video, intro to her show, and it showed all the movies she was in. It's like, wow, you just like really realize she's just such a she's done so much, the Sonny and Cher show and all the movies she's been in, and she's continued to uh really. And she's also a very, fights for, I think, liberal causes and human rights, and is a very right on kind of person.
Oh, totally. She nails it each and every time. She's an Oscar winner and an all-round everything fabulous person. Look, Kate, in 2022, the B-52's announced their final tour, which has now wrapped. But you kick off your residency in Las Vegas at the
Woo!
Venetian. Boy, oh boy, I wish I could be there. April 12 is when it starts. How excited are you guys about returning to Vegas and kicking ass, as they say, on that stage?
Well, we've done two residencies, and it's at the Venetian, and
Yes,
they have a theater that's kind of like a, Vegas, everything is a replication of something, the Parisian is, why go to Paris when you have the Eiffel Tower right there in Vegas? So
that's it.
uh, it was hot the last time we were there, but we always try to have the days off. We go out to the desert, or we take, there's some beautiful canyons very close to Vegas. So try to get out into nature, because otherwise you're trapped indoors, and a casino is not my idea of fun. I don't like to gamble. Um, we can't really see that many shows because they're all on the same night. I would like to see Katy Perry. I'd love to see Adele, and so they're all Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So we did see the Michael Jackson show, the Cirque du Soleil, which was wonderful. And but getting outside and getting into nature is really important, because otherwise it's just sort of crazy in the in the casino. Is it ching ching ching, and the if you don't gamble, it's, but there are a lot of really good restaurants, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun to see some of the other casinos. And but for me, I think for everyone, we just have to get outside and breathe some air, because just being inside the casino. So there's a good gym in the Venetian hotel, so we hit the gym and just try to stay grounded.
So for those now fizzing with excitement, saying we want to see the B-52's in Vegas, what can they expect?
Well, we do have to play the hits, but we do try to add some songs that we haven't done, some deep cuts. We did Devils in My Car. And of course, we had to do the song Queen of Las Vegas.
Of course.
So we added that. And Fred just was texting, let's think about a new intro. So we're, put our thinking caps on, and we have a video, really cool video in the beginning. So we always try to do something a little bit different, add some new songs. There'll probably be people coming back that have seen us before, and we always have friends that want to come. So Vegas is a real draw. It's fun for people to come see shows there. So yeah, we try to mix it up and add a lot of excitement. Our shows are very danceable, and the audience always gets going, and they have fun. And I think that's a real gift, that people have fun, and especially in these sort of weird political potentially dark times. I mean, uh, it's very important to try to have fun and forget about all the things that could be happening, and all the things that are happening in the world. It's just really pretty tragic right now. So to come out and have fun is a real something. I have fun when we play, so it sort of takes you away from all your problems and everything in the world you're thinking about. And it's just music, as I
It's
said.
true. I know you leave your worries at the door, you pop on your B-52's wigs,
Put your
and
wig
you
hat
just
on.
bop along to your fabulous music. Now, speaking of fabulous music, and I say fabulous a lot because that's a word I equate with the B-52's, can your fans expect maybe another album at some point down the line? Are you guys working on something new? Because certainly your fans would love it.
Strangely enough, Keith just moved back to this area, and I went to his house and
Mm-hmm.
listened to a whole bunch of music he's been writing, and we sort of discussed possibility of at least writing. Let's just try to write one song. So I don't think we're going to do another album. I'm pretty sure we're not, but I think we could go song by song. So I think we're going to try it.
What about a movie on your extraordinary life and times, or even a documentary on the
Well, a
B-50?
documentary is way in the works, and we've
Oh,
already
wow.
got Craig Johnson is the director. Fred Armisen is an executive producer. Uh, it's already very well deep into being done. So we have tons of material that archivist said, "Oh my God, we have more material here than we've ever seen." We had Super 8 footage, and it just so happens that we all had cameras, and I took a lot of Super 8, and Keith and Ricky had a camera in the beginning, so there's a lot of video camera, like a really kind of big video camera. Uh, so we have photographs, and so we have a lot of material that we could put into it, and we did interviews, and they've interviewed a ton of people, so it's going to come out, and I can't say exactly when, but it's well in the works. So really excited about that. That's a something that we have to do, and I love watching documentaries on rock bands. So I think that's kind of the icing on the cake, to have a documentary. And yes, people don't know there's so much about the band. Whenever I watch a rock documentary, I learn so much about the band and kind of the people, how it came about, and it's something I think that I'm really excited that we're going to have that.
You've got the John Waters Festival coming up soon. Now that is going to be fun.
We love John Waters, and we sometimes on tour we would have a John Waters festival, and the bus driver would hear us like laughing. I'm sure he wondered and hear all these strange sounds coming from his movies. And John Waters is just
Polyester is one of my favorites. Francine Fishpaw and Divine Tab Hunter. I mean, John Waters is a legend.
He's another just off the charts loony, gonzo kind of like us, just a really crazy sense of humor and over the top. So he's just God.
Now, Kate, of course, you mentioned how much you love Australia and your numerous trips to Down Under, and we love you right on back, I've got to tell you. However, you met the Australian Prime Minister last year at the White House, Anthony Albanese. Don't tell me he was a B-52's fan.
Actually, he came to one of our concerts when he was young. He said he had one earring, and he was very warm when we met him. I mean, he was just like, he was a fan. That was amazing. And we were invited by the Bidens to this Australian state dinner at the White House. I mean, how great is that? That was so amazing. And, we got to meet the Bidens, and we got to meet the Prime Minister and his partner. And it was just a pretty amazing event. People kept asking me, what was the food? I mean, I don't remember the food. It was just like, who was there? It was pretty amazing.
It was a case of who wasn't there. And interesting too, just before we came to air, you were telling me about having met the Bidens and just what incredible energy the president has.
I was really, stunned to see what endurance he had, because he had been to Israel, and he had to host the prime minister, and he had to speak at the dinner, and he had to wait in this long receiving line while everyone had their picture taken with him and greeted. And then he had the dinner, and then he had to go deal with this horrible shooting that happened in Maine. So he was just has incredible endurance, and I'm really hoping he's going to be there in the next term. We're really rooting for Joe Biden.
Okay, so what else have you got coming up, Kate? You and the B-52's, because I know you've all been working on individual projects.
Cindy has a solo album that she did recently, and Fred reissued his Christmas album. And as I said, Keith's writing a lot of music, and I'm really looking forward to my solo album coming out, and it's imminent. And I have all the songs ready, and I've collaborated with some other great people, Chris Braid and Jimmy Harry, and Blue Macaulay. So I'm really looking forward to that, and hope to do some shows too. So
you've been so generous with your time, Kate. Thank you very much.
I really enjoyed talking to you. Great questions and great, I just love that kind of upbeat kind of feel of interview. So
yeah. Oh, thank you very well. You were a joy to chat to. So it was that synchronicity we had happening.
Yes, exactly. So,
thank you. All righty, you enjoy the rest of the day, and I hope I don't want to put another earworm in your ear, because that song from Annie really can be irritating, but I know the sun will come out tomorrow for you. I can feel it.
Takes. I'll be singing that all night. All right.
You can blame your new Aussie friends.